quick one today because I am a little bit pressed for time. We are going to be talking all about pet safe paints because I have painted a lot of things over the years. We've made a lot of cages, a lot of toys, a lot of DIYs, and I use paint and coloured paint in many of those. And that of course brings up the question, how do you find pet safe paints? What counts as a pet safe paint? What should I look for in a pet safe paint? And in my usual fashion, I've waited almost a decade to finally make this video. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about the different kinds of paints that I have used in various different pet projects that have worked for me. Now, there may be other pet safe paints that I don't include in this video, and that's just because I don't know about them. I found the things that work for me, I'm happy with them, so I've not ventured further than the ones I mentioned in this video. So this won't necessarily be a complete list, but it should definitely be a helpful one. I won't be talking about specific brands in this video, mainly because the brand of paint really does not matter. The name on the tin is irrelevant. What's important is the ingredients inside and the fact that it's water-based and non-toxic. Now, just to clarify something with the word non-toxic. Non-toxic doesn't mean that your pet should be eating it, it just means that if they do eat it, there's no risk of them being poisoned or harmed by it. The reason I want to highlight that is because my personal recommendation when it comes to painting pet products is not to paint toys for animals that you know are excessive or destructive chewers. So, for example, in the rodent world, gerbils are known to be destructive chewers. They've got a big reputation for it. So if you have gerbils, maybe this kind of video is not going to be for you. However, I have never actually kept gerbils myself, so maybe that's just a big myth. Certainly in the world of hamsters, a lot of hamsters are not excessive or destructive chewers. One of the most common concerns I hear from hamster owners is that their hamsters don't chew anything and they're worried about their dental health. So with hamsters, it's not super common that you will get a destructive or excessive chewer, but they do exist and you might have one. So if you do, again, just saying maybe this video isn't for you. Ultimately though, that decision is down to you, whether or not you think your pet will be consuming large amounts of paint. Again, it's not going to poison them or harm them, but it shouldn't really be in their digestive system that much. That aside, now let's talk about the actual paints. The first two types of paints I want to talk about are not necessarily budget friendly and maybe a little more difficult for you to get your hands on, but they are much higher quality paints and they will last a lot longer. These are the types of paints I would recommend using if you're going to be painting an enclosure, because these are the paints that will last a long time and they will look the best for a long time. Number one is food grade paints. Anything that's safe for painting things like breadboards or wooden bowls or wooden utensils. This kind of stuff you find in your kitchen and that would have regular contact with food items is often water soluble and non-toxic, though it is important to still check the label on the tin just to make certain. Also, being able to go into a hardware store and say, hey, I'm looking for a paint that I can use for painting wooden utensils is gonna get you better results and a less weird look from the member of staff than going in and saying, hey, I need paint for my hamster. On saying that last sentence, I wonder how many people have clicked on this video thinking these are gonna be paints for painting the actual animal. Don't do that. Your animal doesn't need that, their fur doesn't need that. Damages the oils, damages the skin. Don't paint your pets. Okay, thanks. And paint type number two is anything used for painting baby accessories, in particular baby cribs and baby toys, and that's because babies, being babies, tend to chew on things and put things in their mouths that they shouldn't. And so paint that's made for their things, these days at least, is often non-toxic and water soluble. Once again, check the tin. By the way, the food grade and baby grade rule also goes for varnishes. So if you just wanted a clear varnish, look for something that's made either for painting food objects or for painting baby objects. These are the types of paint you'll see me using most often on paper toys because I don't expect those toys to last very long. I'm expecting them to collapse and get covered in pee, so I'm not going to be using expensive, long-lasting paint for those. Number one is food coloring, which you can buy in almost any supermarket. Down the baking aisle, you'll find all different kinds of food coloring: liquid food coloring, cream food coloring, vegetable-based food coloring, water-based food coloring. Now, I did used to say in my very, very old videos to only use vegetable-based food coloring, and that's because we weren't sure about the safety of other types of food coloring, but it is safe to use other types of food coloring as well, as long as you dilute them before use. You don't want to use a fully concentrated food coloring straight out the bottle. You want to mix it with a little bit of water and then paint it onto whatever you're painting it onto, and it'll be perfectly safe. And to be honest, even if you don't water it down and you do use the fully concentrated form of the food coloring, it's still not likely to cause any problems unless your hamster consumes, or other pet consumes, very large amounts of it, which is kind of unlikely. Watering it down is more of a precautionary measure that, again, It's up to you whether you take it. I would recommend it. And the final pet safe paint I want to recommend that I use probably the most often these days is tempera paint. Tempera paint is almost exclusively water-based and non-toxic, though again, check the labels, and that's because tempera is made from eggs. Because, you know, why wouldn't you make paint from eggs? This stuff can usually be found down the kids' craft aisle of supermarkets and big shops. It can be found in art stores, school supply stores. Basically anywhere that sells paint for crafting with should sell this stuff. It's one of the most popular types of craft paints to be used for small children. It gets used in nurseries and preschools and infant schools. That's what makes it so easy to come by, and it's also very, very cheap. This bottle was about $1.99. Unfortunately, I can't recommend this particular one because it's from Jumbo, which most of you don't have in your countries. Sorry about that. Now, if you're gonna buy tempera paint, let me give you just one more money-saving tip that makes this already cheap paint even cheaper. Only buy the white tempera paint and buy the biggest bottle that you can and as many as you can. Bring them home, keep them, store them. Then pop to the supermarket and buy yourself some food coloring. This cost me about 60 cents for this entire bottle. Buy every color of food coloring they have, or at least all the ones you think you'll need. Then the next time you want to paint something, just pop a little bit of the white tempera paint into a dish and just a couple of drops of the color of the food coloring you want in there, mix it all up, and you will have not only every color of food coloring you've bought, which will last forever. Trust me, this stuff, you're using just a couple of drops at a time, this stuff goes on and on. But you can also change the vibrancy of the color. So you've not just got rich blues and rich reds, but you can also have pastel pinks and pastel blues and everything in between. As well as a money saver, it's also a big space saver because I haven't got a ton of these bottles lying around. I just have a few vials of food coloring, and I think I've got about 4 of these at the minute. And you don't have to buy entire bottles of a color that you might only need a little bit of. Internally, I got a little bit too excited talking about that bit, but I love it when I find things that just save money and make my life easier. So those are the 4 types of pet safe paint that I most commonly use with my projects and that I would recommend to others. Small honorable mention at the end of this video as well to soy paint. I don't use this. I used to use this a little bit, but I don't use it anymore because it's very, very hard to find. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe in your area it'll be a little easier to find. Maybe you'll find it on a website somewhere, but I can't find any, so I don't use it. But soy paint is also another safe alternative. Also, if you're looking for a specific brand name, the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that I can recommend is Plasticoat. They do some non-toxic paints. Not all of them are non-toxic though, so you do need to check. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I do hope you found it helpful. While I've been talking about this, I realized that it's been a little while since I've done any like small cutesy DIY projects. So if there's anything you want me to make, anything you want to see me make, challenge me to make, whatever, please feel free to. I'm sure I have a sketchbook somewhere of a bunch of ideas that I'll get around to in another 10 years. But if there's anything you specifically want to see, you can always ask for it. In the meantime, like, subscribe, all that ish, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! By the way, do you appreciate I finally got my backdrop finished? We have a proper set once again after like 3 years without one. Ta-da! What's my next point? Does anyone remember? Because I don't. Oh, I nearly dropped my phone. I can't tell if the camera's focused because my eyes can't focus. It's just a little bit out of my range of vision. A little bit too small. You know what? It'd probably be a benefit to you if I was blurry. I still don't remember what the next subject is though. I have things written down and I've still forgotten. I've forgotten that I've written them down, that's the problem. Continue on. Clicking does not help me remember things as much as I think it does. I can see one of my neighbors watching me. It's really, really off-putting. Please stop looking at me. Problem is that my office window is on a really busy section of the apartment complex, so people are going past it all day long. And I worry about what they think. I don't suppose it helps that I don't wear pants in any of my videos. I wish my brain would stick to one thought for one flipping minute. Ah. What am I doing? Oh, excuse me. Did we talk about food coloring yet? Did I think about talking about it? I don't think I talked. Okay, well, we're gonna talk about it again and I might just have the same piece repeated. Gone for a minute and back again. Yeah, the sound effects were completely necessary for that one. I suck. suck at being a YouTuber. I'm very, very bad at this. I don't know how you've allowed me to continue going on for this long.